Welcome to my channel, English Speaking. Before we begin today, I want you to do one small thing. Write the words "I am focused" in the comments below, right now. Before we start, just those 3 words, because the people who write them are the ones who finish. They are the ones who come back tomorrow. They are the ones who actually change their English. Write it. Then keep listening. Now, let me describe something to you, and I want you to be honest with yourself as I describe it. You are in a conversation. Someone asks you something in English, a simple question. Maybe they ask what you did last weekend, or where you are from, or what you do for work. The question is not complicated. You have heard questions like this before. You know English. You have studied it. You understand most of what the person said. And then the process begins. Your mind goes to your first language. You think of what you want to say there first. Then you start searching for the English words. You find some of them, but not all of them. You try to put them in the right order. You worry about the verb tense. You wonder if your pronunciation will sound wrong. You feel the other person waiting. The silence grows longer than you wanted. And finally, something comes out. Sometimes it is close to what you meant. Sometimes it is not. And either way, you feel a familiar kind of exhaustion afterward, not because the conversation was so hard, because the mental process was so long. I know that process. I know exactly what it feels like, and I want to tell you something that changed everything for me. The problem is not that you do not know enough English. The problem is where you are keeping it. Think about that for a moment. You have words, you have some grammar. You have phrases you have seen and heard, but they are stored in a place where your mind needs time to travel before it can reach them. And conversation does not give you that time. Conversation is happening right now. It is not waiting for your translation process to finish. And so the gap between what you know and what you can say in real time feels enormous. Even though the distance between you and fluency is much smaller than it appears. What if the English you already have is enough to start speaking better right now? Not perfectly, but better, more directly, more quickly. What if the real work is not adding more knowledge, but changing how you access what you already know? That is what today is about. Let us start with something specific. Because I do not want to talk about fluency in abstract terms, I want to show you exactly where the slowness comes from. And it comes from one very specific habit: building your sentences word by word from scratch every single time you open your mouth. Imagine someone asks you what you did last weekend. If you try to build your answer completely from nothing, this is what happens in your brain. Weekend. What did I do? I went to. How do I say that? Past tense. Went. I went to a. How do I say the place? Did I do anything interesting? Should I mention the food? Maybe just say I stayed home. How do you say stayed? Stayed. I stayed. No, wait, is that right? By this point, 5 seconds have passed and the other person is looking at you, and you have not said a single word yet. Now here is what changes when you have a small set of familiar sentence structures already available in your memory. I went to a place near my house on Saturday. I spent most of the weekend at home. I was trying to finish something I started a while ago. I decided to stay in and rest. Those 4 structures: I went to, I spent most of the weekend, I was trying to, I decided to, are ready. They are already assembled. You do not build them. You reach for them. You only change the ending depending on what you actually want to say. The frame is already there. You fill it in. I went to a friend's house. I went to the market. I went to a restaurant I had never tried before. The structure stays the same. only the destination changes. And your brain can find the destination much faster than it can find the entire sentence from zero. This is the shift. From constructing to retrieving. From building to reaching. And it starts by building a small collection of structures you know deeply. Not 100, not 50, maybe 10 or 15 to begin with. 10 structures you can reach for quickly, without searching, without assembling, without fear. And here is something worth saying clearly before we go any further. This shift is not about lowering your standards. It is not about settling for broken English. It is about understanding how language actually works in the brain of someone who speaks it well. When a native English speaker answers a question, they are not constructing a sentence. They are selecting a frame that fits the situation and filling it in. The frame is automatic. The content is fresh. And the result sounds natural precisely because the frame does not require any conscious effort. The speaker can give all their attention to the content because the structure is already there, already running, already available. You are building those same frames, one by one, practice session by practice session. And every time you say a structure out loud, in a real context, even a private context, even alone in your kitchen, you are reinforcing the path, making it faster, making it more available, making it yours. Now let me add more structures to your collection. Because 10 is a starting point, not a limit, and some of the most useful structures in everyday English are also some of the most overlooked. Try these. Say each one after me. I have been meaning to. Say it. I have been meaning to. The thing is. Say it. The thing is. I am actually not sure if say it. I am actually not sure if what I was going to say was. Say it. What I was going to say was, I guess what I am trying to say is. Say it. I guess what I am trying to say is. Now notice something about all of those structures. They do not finish the thought. They open it. They are doors, not walls. And when you have a door already open, the pressure of finding the content inside is much lower because you have already started. The first word has already been said. And the brain, once it hears itself starting a sentence, tends to complete it. I have been meaning to call you about that. I have been meaning to try that new place near work. I have been meaning to organize my files for weeks now. The thing is, I am not sure how to say this clearly. The thing is, it is more complicated than it seems. The thing is, I changed my mind since we last talked. Use those this week. Find a moment where one of them fits and say it. Even if nobody is listening, even if the sentence does not come out perfectly. What matters is that you open the door. And opening the door is the whole skill. And right now, you are going to practice some of them. Say each one after me. Not just read it. Say it. I went to. Say it. I went to. I spent some time. Say it. I spent some time. I was trying to. Say it. I was trying to. I decided to. Say it. I decided to. I ended up. Say it. I ended up. I kept thinking about. Say it. I kept thinking about. I had no idea that. Say it. I had no idea that. Now use one of them in a real sentence about something you actually did recently. Out loud. Right now. Any sentence. Even a simple one. Even an imperfect one. I went to the supermarket. I spent some time with my family. I was trying to finish something important. I decided to take a break. Say your sentence now. That is a real sentence, built not from translation but from retrieval. And the more you practice those structures, the faster the retrieval becomes. But there is something else that slows the speaking process down. Something that lives beneath the sentence construction. It is the habit of thinking in your first language about everything, including the smallest and most immediate moments of your day, before translating those thoughts into English. Most learners experience English as a second step. They have a thought. The thought exists in their first language. Then they decide whether to say it in English. Then they translate. Then they speak. But what if the thought itself could begin in English? Not the complex thoughts, not the long reflections, just the small, immediate, situational thoughts that accompany the moments of your day. Look around you right now. Look at the space you are in, and notice how many simple English thoughts you could attach to what you see. Not vocabulary exercise thoughts. Real, immediate thoughts. That light is too bright. The window is open. Something smells good. It is quieter than usual today. I need to move this thing out of the way. Those are thoughts. Small, direct, immediate thoughts. And they can happen in English. Starting today. Starting in this moment. When you wake up and the light comes through the window instead of your usual first language thought, try this in English. It is already morning. I did not sleep enough. Today is going to be busy. Those are not complicated statements. They are the most basic kind of internal narration. And practicing them in English, even silently, even just a few per day, begins to eliminate the translation layer. The thought and the English start to happen at the same time instead of in sequence. And this is where something interesting happens to your confidence. Because when you start to notice that small thoughts can arrive in English naturally, without effort, without searching, without translation, you begin to trust yourself a little more. You begin to feel like English is less of a foreign object you are trying to hold carefully, and more of something that already partly belongs to you. That feeling matters enormously. It changes how you behave in real conversations. When you feel like English is something you are performing, you hold back. You check yourself. You wait until the sentence is complete inside your head before you risk saying it out loud. But when you feel like English is something you are simply using, you lean forward. You start sentences without knowing exactly how they will end. You trust the language to follow you. And most of the time, it does. The narration habit builds that trust quietly, in the small moments of ordinary days without drama and without pressure. I also want to say something about narrating decisions and feelings, because most learners narrate objects and actions when they start. The table is brown. I am cooking pasta. I am opening the door. And those are good starting points. But the real depth of the narration habit comes when you bring it into your interior life. The choices, the reactions, the small emotional textures that nobody sees, but that fill every waking hour. You are deciding what to eat, and you feel conflicted. Narrate it in English. I do not really want anything heavy right now. Something light would be better. Maybe I will just make something simple and quick. You are waiting for something, and you feel slightly impatient. Narrate it. This is taking longer than I expected. I need to stay calm. It will be worth it. You finish something you were avoiding for days, and you feel a quiet wave of satisfaction. Narrate it. I finally did that. It was not as hard as I made it seem in my head. I should have done it sooner. Those are not English lessons. They are English life. And English life is what fluency is actually made of. Let me give you more examples from real daily situations, because I want you to see how many natural English thoughts already exist inside your ordinary day. You are making coffee and you realize you forgot to buy milk. Instead of thinking that in your first language and then translating it, practice thinking directly. I knew I forgot something. I have to go without milk today. I should write a list next time. You are looking for your phone and you cannot find it. Think in English. I just had it. Where did I put it? It must be in the other room. I do it every time. You finish a task that took longer than expected and you sit back. Think, finally. That took way too long, but it is done now. I feel better. None of those thoughts require advanced vocabulary. They use words you already know. The only change is that you are having them in English instead of in your first language. And each time you do, you are shortening the distance between the situation and the English response. You are training your brain to skip the translation detour. Now here is where it gets interesting, because these small daily thoughts are actually the foundation of something much more important. They are the foundation of automatic access. Fluency is not about knowing more words. Fluency is about reaching the words you know faster, and automatic access builds through familiarity, through repetition in context, through using the same patterns in many different situations until those patterns feel like natural reflexes. Think of it this way. The first time you drove on a particular road, you were conscious of every turn. You paid attention. You thought about where to go. After driving that road 50 times, you almost drive it without thinking. The route is stored as automatic memory, not as conscious decision-making. Your hands turn before your mind gives the instruction. Language can work the same way. Specific phrases and structures, used frequently in familiar situations, become automatic. You reach for them before your brain finishes the conscious search, and that automatic reach is what speaking without translation feels like. So let us talk about how to build those automatic patterns, because understanding the idea is one thing, building it is another. The method is simple. Take one structure, use it in at least 5 different ways, on the same day, in different situations, about different topics, with different endings. Let us take the structure "I am not sure" as an example. In the morning you think, "I am not sure what I want for breakfast." On your way somewhere, "I am not sure which way to go from here, at work or study. I am not sure I understood that correctly." In a conversation, "I am not sure that is exactly what I meant." Before sleep, "I am not sure I finished everything I needed to do today." One structure, 5 different situations, 5 different endings, all in one day. And by the end of that day, the structure "I am not sure" feels less like a phrase you learned and more like something that belongs to your spoken language. Try this with more structures. Take it "depends on." Scatter it through your day. "It depends on how I feel." "It depends on the situation." "It depends on what time we leave." "It depends on how much work I have." "It depends on the weather." Take "what I mean is." Use it when you are speaking to yourself or in small conversations. "What I mean is, I need more time." "What I mean is, it is not as simple as it looks." "What I mean is, I am happy with how this is going." Take "the problem is." "The problem is, I do not have enough time today." "The problem is, I forgot what I was supposed to do." "The problem is, I keep changing my mind." Each of these structures gives you a way to start speaking while your brain is still finding the rest of the sentence. And that is not a workaround. That is exactly how fluent speakers begin many of their sentences, with a frame that buys a moment of time while the content follows. There is something else worth knowing about why these structures work so well, and it connects to something that happens in your listening practice too. When you listen to natural English conversations, you will notice that certain phrases appear again and again. By the way, to be honest, I was just thinking. That makes sense. I have no idea. I am not sure. These are not coincidences. These are the ready-made units that fluent speakers reach for constantly. Researchers who study language call them lexical chunks. Chunks of language that are stored and retrieved as complete units, not assembled word by word. The more chunks you have available, the faster your speaking becomes. And the more you listen to natural English, the more chunks your brain begins to recognize and absorb. This is why listening and speaking are not separate skills with separate practices. They feed each other. Every time you hear a natural phrase in context and recognize it, you are one step closer to being able to produce it without effort. So when you listen to English speaking, do not only follow the meaning, listen for the chunks, the ready-made phrases, the small units of language that arrive as one piece. Write one down after each session, say it 3 times, then use it once that same day. That is the loop. And over weeks, that loop fills your collection with pieces of real, natural, retrievable English. Let me give you a few more chunks that appear in everyday English and that you can start collecting right now. As far as I know. Say it. As far as I know. As far as I know, that place is still open on Sundays. As far as I know, nothing has changed yet. To be fair. Say it. To be fair. To be fair, it was not as difficult as I expected. To be fair, I did not prepare very much either. Now that I think about it, say it. Now that I think about it. Now that I think about it, I might have left that at home. Now that I think about it, I am not sure I ever finished that. Come to think of it. Say it. Come to think of it. Come to think of it, I have not spoken to her in weeks. Come to think of it, that is actually a good idea. Those phrases do something specific in a conversation. They signal that you are actively thinking, that you are present, that you are engaged, and they give you a second or two of time while your brain retrieves what comes next. They are not filler. They are structure, and using them correctly is a mark of natural, comfortable speaking. Now, there is another skill that directly separates learners who communicate well from learners who freeze when a word disappears. And this skill is not about knowing more vocabulary. It is about knowing how to keep moving when a word is missing. Imagine you want to say the word charger. Your phone needs to be charged and you want to describe what you are looking for, but you cannot find the word. In translation mode, your brain stops. It searches. It finds nothing. The conversation freezes. But in a different mode, your brain does not search for the word. It searches for a path around the word. And it sounds like this. The thing I use to charge my phone. The small cable that gives my phone power. The device I plug into the wall for my phone battery. None of those use the word charger. All of them communicated the idea. The conversation continued. And honestly, in many natural conversations between fluent speakers, this kind of description happens all the time. Someone cannot remember a word and says something like the thing you use to open a bottle, you know, the little metal one. And the other person says, oh, a bottle opener. And the conversation moves forward. Nobody failed. Language happened. This is one of the most liberating skills in English communication. You do not need the perfect word. You need a passable path to the idea. And almost always, that path exists in the simple vocabulary you already have. Language teachers have a name for this skill. It is called circumlocution. It means talking around something instead of naming it directly. And it is not a weakness, it is a technique. It is something that fluent speakers use too, especially when they are speaking about a topic they know less well, or when they want to explain something to someone who might not know the technical term. The difference between a learner who communicates well and a learner who freezes is not vocabulary size. It is often the willingness and the ability to describe instead of name, to say the process of making something by heating it in a container instead of cooking, to say the person who brings food to your table instead of waiter, To say the thing you use to lock a door instead of key. Simple words used in a creative combination communicate almost anything. And here is something that will help you practice this skill specifically. Every day this week, choose one object you use regularly, something in your home, at work, in your bag, an object you see every day. And try to describe it completely using only simple English words without ever saying its actual name. Describe what it looks like, what it does, how you use it, when you use it. What would happen if you did not have it? Try it right now with something near you. Pick one thing. Do not say its name. Describe it for 30 seconds in English. Go. If you managed even 20 seconds, you just practice circumlocution. And the more you practice it in low-stakes private moments, the more available it becomes in high-stakes real moments. When a word disappears mid-conversation, your brain will not shut down. It will reroute, and the conversation will continue. That rerouting reflex is worth more than 50 new vocabulary words, because it means you can always keep speaking. And keeping speaking is what builds fluency. Practice this now. Think of something near you, a specific object. Try to describe it using only simple English words without saying its actual name. The thing you look at in the morning to see yourself. The flat device I use to listen to music. The small thing I carry everywhere with phone, money, and cards. The container I use for hot drinks when I leave the house. If you could do that for at least 2 of those, you have already practiced the skill. And if you practice it regularly, your brain will start building description pathways as a reflex. When a word disappears mid-conversation, your brain will not freeze, it will reroute, and the conversation will continue. There is something that connects everything we have talked about so far, and it is this. Your brain can only retrieve what it has practiced retrieving, not just what it has seen or studied, what it has actually used. The words you have said out loud in context in real or practice situations are the words that come out fastest. The words you have only read in a textbook or seen in a flashcard are the ones that hide when you need them. This means that speaking practice is not optional if you want to speak fluently. It is the only practice that directly builds the thing you are trying to build. And speaking practice does not require a partner. It does not require a class. It does not require perfect conditions. It requires your voice, your phone, and a question. Here is a practice that I want you to do regularly. Start with a question, a simple, everyday question, and answer it out loud to yourself for 30 seconds to 1 minute. Then answer it again, but add more detail. Then answer it one more time and make it sound more natural. Let us try it together right now. The question is, what are you working on these days? Level 1, just a sentence. I am working on my English. Level 2, add a reason. I am working on my English because I want to feel more confident in conversations. Level 3, add a small detail or example. I am working on my English because I want to feel more confident in conversations. I have been listening to English every day this week, and it is starting to feel a little easier. 3 levels, same question. Each level more complete. Each level more natural. And the interesting thing is that level 3 did not require difficult vocabulary. It only required a little more confidence to keep going after level 1. Now try it with this question. What do you usually do after work or after your main activity of the day? Level 1, I usually watch something on my phone. Level 2, I usually watch something on my phone because I need to switch off for a while. Level 3, I usually watch something on my phone because I need to switch off for a while. I have been trying to watch things in English lately. It is harder to follow, but I learn a lot from it. See how naturally the 3 levels build on each other? You are not translating. You are expanding. You start with what you know and you add detail as your mind warms up to the topic. This is exactly how fluent speakers respond to personal questions. They start simple and build, not because they are being careful with grammar, because that is how thought works when it is not filtered through translation. Let us try one more. This is one of the most common questions in everyday English. Why are you learning English? Level 1. Because I need it for my life here. Level 2. Because I need it for my life here and I want to feel more comfortable in everyday situations. Level 3. Because I need it for my life here and I want to feel more comfortable in everyday situations. I have been living in an English-speaking place for a while, but I still feel nervous sometimes. I want that to change. That third answer is honest. It is personal. It uses simple language, and it communicates something real and complete. No translation required, no grammar check required, just one level building on the one before it. Practice that structure with 5 different questions this week. Any 5 questions. Make yourself answer at 3 levels. Write them down if that helps. Record yourself if that helps more. And here I want to offer you a shift in how you think about speaking practice altogether. Because many learners approach speaking practice the same way they approach a performance. They prepare. They rehearse. They want to be ready before they begin. And then when the real moment comes, they feel the weight of all that preparation and they freeze under it. Think instead about how an athlete trains. A basketball player does not wait until they are certain they can score before they take a shot in practice. They shoot, they miss, they adjust, they shoot again. The practice is made of attempts, not perfections. And the game eventually feels manageable, not because the player became certain of success, but because the player became comfortable with attempting. Speaking English works the same way. The practice session is the attempt. The real conversation is the game. And the only way the game feels manageable is if the practice sessions are full of real attempts, real sentences, real moments of reaching for language and sometimes not quite getting there. So when you do your 3-level practice and a sentence does not come out the way you wanted, do not fix it and start over. Notice it. Make a mental note. Then continue. And if you want, at the very end of the practice session, after you have finished speaking, go back and say that one thing again in a better way. 1 revision, not 10. 1. Because you are training a speaker, not polishing a script. Speakers improve through volume, through the sheer number of sentences they allow themselves to say, not through the perfection of the few sentences they let survive their own editing process. Say more. Edit less. Improve over time. That is the athlete's approach to language. And it works. The recording is actually something I want to address directly because it is one of the most effective and most avoided tools in independent English practice. Recording yourself speaking is uncomfortable at first. I know. Almost everyone feels that way. Your voice sounds different than you expect. You notice every pause and imperfection. You want to stop and delete it immediately. But here is what happens when you do not delete it. You choose one question. You answer it for 60 seconds. You listen back. You identify not everything that was wrong, but only 1 or 2 things that stood out. One thing you want to say more smoothly. One phrase you want to replace with a better one. Then you record it again. And on the second recording, you are slightly better than on the first. Not dramatically, slightly. But that slight improvement is real. It is yours. And if you compare recordings you made 2 weeks apart on the same question, the difference will surprise you. The other thing that recordings do is show you your actual progress at a time when your daily practice feels invisible. When you feel like you are not improving, listening to your own voice from 3 weeks ago and comparing it to today is often the clearest proof that something is changing. And proof of progress is fuel. It keeps you coming back. Now, I want to talk about something practical and very specific: creating small zones of English inside your real daily life. Not trying to live the entire day in English from the moment you wake up. That is a fine goal for later. But right now, the sustainable and effective approach is to choose 3 or 4 specific moments every day and use them for English. Morning coffee or tea is one of the best. You are alone. The house is quiet. Your mind is soft. And you have 2 or 3 minutes where nothing urgent is demanding your attention. Use that time to narrate, out loud or in your head, what you see, what you are doing, what you are thinking about. The water is hot. I like this quiet in the morning. I need to check my schedule later. I am not sure what kind of day it is going to be yet. I hope it goes smoothly. 5 sentences, 2 minutes, every morning. And over weeks, that daily deposit builds something in your brain that no single long study session can replace. Consistency over intensity. That is the rule. Another excellent zone is your commute. If you walk, use those minutes to think in English. Describe what you see. Narrate decisions. Practice questions and answers in your mind. If you take public transport, listen to English speaking and shadow sentences quietly. Let the language enter your ears and leave your lips in a small private loop that nobody around you can even hear. Another zone is the last few minutes before sleep. Not as a formal exercise, as a small reflection. What happened today? What you noticed? One thing that surprised you? One thing you are thinking about? In English, quietly, as your mind winds down. And some nights you will fall asleep in the middle of a sentence in English. And that is not failure. That is your brain becoming comfortable enough in the language to use it even at the edge of rest. These small zones are not dramatic. They will not make you fluent in a week, but they are doing something that nothing else quite replaces. They are making English a normal part of your mental landscape, not a subject you switch on when you sit down to study. A language that lives inside the ordinary moments of your ordinary day. And that is exactly where fluency actually grows. I want to say one more thing about these small zones, because I have noticed that learners often underestimate them. They feel too small, too informal, too easy to forget. 2 minutes of English in the morning while waiting for water to boil feels like it could not possibly matter. And so many learners skip it. They save their English practice for the times when they feel properly prepared, when they have their notebook, when they are sitting at their desk, when the conditions feel like study. But here is the problem with that approach. The times when conditions feel like study are also the times when your brain is most aware that you are doing something effortful. And effortful English reinforces the feeling that English requires effort. Whereas English practiced in the small, informal, ordinary moments of your day is English your brain begins to associate with ordinary life. And ordinary life English is the only kind that eventually becomes automatic. Think about the last time you called a family member or a close friend in your first language. You did not prepare. You did not think about grammar. You did not worry about how you sounded. You just talked. Because the language was automatic. Because it was ordinary. Because it lived inside the ordinary moments of your relationship with those people. That is what you are building for English. Not perfect English for special occasions. Ordinary English for ordinary moments, and you build it by having ordinary English moments. Even very small ones, even very imperfect ones, every single day. So when you wake up tomorrow morning and you reach for your coffee and you think it is cold today, say it in English, out loud, or in your mind. It is cold today. I should close the window. Just those two sentences. Just those two English thoughts that took about 4 seconds. And then go about your morning. That is a small zone. That is a daily deposit. And over a month, those deposits add up to something real. This is how you make English feel like less of a climb and more of a walk. By walking in it every day, in small steps, in ordinary moments, until the terrain becomes familiar and the walking becomes effortless. Now, I want to address something that matters deeply and that most English courses avoid because it makes them sound less impressive. Fluency does not require perfection. It requires momentum. When you are speaking and you make a mistake, the worst thing you can do is stop. Not because stopping to correct is wrong in principle, but because the habit of stopping, of interrupting yourself, of going back and starting over every time something is slightly off, that habit teaches your brain that speaking is a high-stakes performance that must be error-free. And that belief is the one that creates the freeze. Fluent speakers correct themselves constantly. They say something and then say, wait. Or actually what I was trying to say was, they change direction mid-sentence. They use and well and as bridges while they are thinking. They are not perfect. They are continuous. And continuous is the goal. So when you practice speaking, whether to yourself, to a recording, to a friend, or in a real situation, practice the habit of continuity. Say something, even if it is not perfect, then say the next thing, and the next. Keep the English moving. Treat a mistake the same way a driver treats a slight swerve on an empty road. You correct the wheel gently and you keep going. You do not stop the car, get out, and analyze the moment for 10 minutes. Language in motion learns. Language that stops to be perfect stays still. Before we reach the final part, I want to address something that comes up for almost every learner who is actively using English in a real environment. Something that happens not during practice, but during the real moments. The moments at work, at the school gate, at the doctor, at the shop counter. The moments that arrive without warning. The moments where you have no preparation time and no safety net. The moment when fear arrives mid-conversation. You know this moment. You are doing reasonably well. The conversation is moving. You are following. You are responding. And then something happens. The other person says something faster than usual, or uses an expression you do not recognize, or asks a question that requires more than a simple answer. And in that split second, you feel a kind of internal alarm, a rising pressure, a tightening that spreads from your chest to your throat. And suddenly the English that was available a moment ago is less available. Not because you forgot it, because the fear pushed it further away. That alarm is real. It is a physical response. And fighting it directly, telling yourself do not be nervous while you are nervous, rarely works. But there are things you can do in that moment that are more effective than trying to suppress the feeling. The first thing is to slow down your speaking rather than speed it up. Many learners do the opposite when fear arrives. They rush. They try to get through the moment faster. But rushing makes mistakes more likely and comprehension harder. Slowing down, taking a breath, giving yourself an extra half second between thoughts. That makes you sound more thoughtful, not less fluent. It gives your brain the room it needs to retrieve the language that is there. The second thing is to reach for a bridge phrase, a phrase that buys you time while your brain finds its footing. Let me think about that for a second. That is a good question, actually. I am not sure I have a quick answer for that. Let me see. These phrases are not weaknesses. They are tools. And using them confidently, without apology, without visible panic, signals to the other person that you are engaged and thoughtful, not struggling. The third thing is to lower the stakes of the moment in your own mind, because the stakes are almost never as high as they feel in that second of alarm. The other person usually wants to communicate with you. They are not judging the quality of your grammar. They are waiting for a response to their question, and almost any honest response, even a simple one, is better than the silence that fear creates. I am not completely sure about that. Could you give me a moment? I think what I want to say is, I want to make sure I understood correctly. These are not failures. These are real, human, effective responses. Say them now. Practice them out loud, so that when fear arrives in a real moment, these phrases are already close to the surface, already available, already one of the frames you can reach for without searching. The conversation does not need to be perfect. It needs to continue, and you are the one who decides whether it continues. The goal you are working toward is not a moment when you wake up and English is suddenly easy. It is not a switch that gets flipped. It is a gradual shortening of the distance between the situation and the English response. Every practice session makes that distance slightly shorter. Every small English thought in your day makes it shorter. Every sentence you say out loud, however simple, makes it shorter. And shorter and shorter, until one day you are in a conversation and you notice that you have not been thinking about your English at all. You have just been talking. That moment will come. It does not come for everyone at the same speed, but it comes for everyone who keeps moving toward it. Now let us finish with a practice, a real one, that you are going to do right now. It takes 5 minutes. And it is everything we talked about today in one small session. 1 minute. Look around the space you are in right now. Name what you'd see. Describe it. Say what it is doing or how it looks, out loud or in your mind. Fill the whole minute with English observations about the space around you. 1 minute. Tell me what you did today. From the moment you woke up to this moment. Simple past tense. Simple sentences. One thing after another. Do not stop to correct. Keep the English moving. 1 minute. Answer this question out loud at all 3 levels. What is something you want to get better at this year? Level 1, 1 sentence. Level 2, sentence plus reason. Level 3, sentence plus reason plus 1 small detail. 1 minute. Take one of these structures and say it in 5 different ways, changing only the ending. I am trying to. I am not sure. It depends on. Choose one and say 5 different sentences with it without stopping. 1 minute. Free speaking. No question. No structure. No topic assigned. Just speak in English for 1 minute about anything that comes to mind. Your day, the room you are in, something you have been thinking about, how this practice felt, anything. Do not correct. Do not stop. Just speak. 5 minutes, 5 exercises. Right now. If you did even 3 of the 5, something happened in your brain today. A small path got a little more visible. A small distance got a little shorter. And if you do this again tomorrow, and the day after, and the day after that, those small paths become clear routes, and those small distances become comfortable territory. You already know enough English to start speaking better today. Not someday. Today. The knowledge is there. What you are building now is access. speed, comfort. The right habit of reaching instead of searching. Subscribe to English Speaking right now for new listening practice sessions every week. Turn on notifications. Come back with your 5-minute practice tomorrow. Leave a comment below with one sentence you said out loud during today's exercise. One sentence in English. Let us hear your voice in the comments. Because every sentence you share is one less sentence that stayed locked inside your head. And share this with one person who is working on their English. Because the message that you can start speaking better right now, not after more study, not after more vocabulary, right now with what you already have, that message deserves to reach more people. Your English is not locked away. It is just waiting for the habit of being used. Start today. Come back tomorrow. I will see you in the next session.